Hi! So this is a little different video. I wanted to take a moment. I had a few people ask me if I would share my testimony and how I came to Christ. And I would love to. I am oddly not good at talking about this in front of groups of people, but since this is just a camera, it doesn't bother me as much. I'm just not good at public speaking. To start things off, I was baptized Catholic. I've never since then really ever stepped foot in a Catholic church, so I don't consider myself a Catholic. My dad does. And that was his and his parents' wish for me to be baptized Catholic, but I never went. So after that, I pretty much went to church with my mom, who was at a Presbyterian church, and that was kind of a good for you, you went to church, see you next Sunday, see you at Easter, see you at Christmas, that's all we care about kind of thing. At least that's how I got out of it. And we went there pretty much all through till I graduated high school, I think, and then she even stopped going. I went away to college. I didn't really care. I was bored. I was usually playing tic-tac-toe with one of my siblings or playing my little mini solitaire game that I had that was not like on my phone because we didn't have those back then. It was like an actual little electronic solitaire game, and that's what I did like every Sunday at church. But fast forward to 2009, I had gone through 3 years of college already and just kind of had a rough time because I wasn't fitting in. I don't drink, and I've always been that way. I don't like being around it. It makes me super uncomfortable when people are drinking, but my whole family drinks. So I'm kind of just around it anyway. But I never really found where I fit in college because of that, because I didn't like going out to parties. I didn't like being around people who were out of control. So I had a hard time. I didn't know how to meet other people like me who didn't like to drink and things. So I didn't really have a lot of friends. I worked at Kohl's, a department store, for those of you who don't know, at the time. I had already been working there since I graduated high school. And while I was there, I met two guys who I worked with there. One of the guys I was really into. So I basically kind of like got to know them, and I heard them talking about a group that they hang out with and stuff, and I already kind of knew they were very much more similar to me. We liked a lot of the same nerdy things, Star Wars, Harry Potter, you name it, like band music. We were all into orchestra and band music, that kind of thing. So I was like, I kind of want to be part of this group, but I didn't really know how to get them to invite me, or especially the one guy that I really liked. And that was more my motive than anything else, was I want to hang out with him more. I want him to invite me. So finally one day, I knew he was talking about his church and he was big into his church. So I was like, I'm just gonna, all right. I went up to him and I said, you know, hey, I've been looking for a new church to go to. Do you know of one? And so of course he invited me to come to his church. I think it was like that Sunday I went. I sat with him and his family, who were very welcoming. And I went to Sunday school with him after that, like a college and career age group. And they like instantly, all these like young, fun, loving, energetic girls like came up to me and were like, oh my gosh, another girl, yay, we're kidnapping you. I don't know. And just like after not having people in my life like that, like friends like my age and stuff other than my siblings for so long, it was so refreshing. And I just, like, my heart felt so full being around all these people. It didn't take long for me to figure out that that was where I belonged. And not just because of the people, but because of the community there and just how loving and supportive everyone was there. Not that I didn't have that home, but like I didn't have that friendship before with other people really since like high school ended. And honestly, not looking back, I don't know that my high school friendships were quite as close and as loving as what I've found since I started going to church. So that was like the beginning of October 2009. By like mid to end of October, I had been hearing the preaching every Sunday, been hearing the focus on salvation. So I'd been getting it in. I still didn't quite understand exactly what it meant to be saved and what they wanted out of me. I don't know. I was still kind of just like enjoying just being around everybody. And I do think at the time I kind of went for the wrong reasons. I went for a guy and for the group of friends that I made there as opposed to for God. But that since has changed. So one day we were about to go, I think we were about to meet up later that day for a Halloween thing, a haunted bus ride, I think is what it was. And the guy that I was interested in, he was trying to talk to me about the gospel, and he said, hey, can I call you? And of course I'm like, yes, you can call me. So I was like, okay, cool. We talked on the phone, and that was kind of where he started asking me questions about, like, do you know where you're going to heaven? Do you know where you're going when you die? Do you know if you're going to heaven? And I kind of tried to talk through the things I had been hearing for the last few weeks, and I'm like, well, I do know that God died on the cross and was risen again for me. He died to save me from my sins, and that is something that I can never make my way to heaven on my own. It's through God. God sent his son for us. It's in John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he sent his only son. And so at the time, I think I kind of did it, and I let him, he prayed for me. He's like, can I pray for you? And I was like, I don't know how to do this. So we prayed, and that's when I accepted Christ on the phone with him. And I kind of do think that at the time it wasn't really for myself that I did it. Looking back, I know for a fact in my heart that I am saved. I've questioned it a couple times because of how it happened, but I know for a fact that I am, that's where my faith is in God. And so I don't question that now, but at the time and a few times after that, especially since we're not really on good terms anymore, I've thought about that, and I just at the time it was really more because of him than it was because of God. So that was October 28th of 2010, sorry, October of 2010. Then I was going regularly to church every Wednesday night for our small group, and every Sunday morning, and then Sunday evening for church. And I just kind of threw myself into all of it and into all the activities. This group did so many things, and like, I can never say how thankful I am for all of that, because I needed that so badly. I needed those friendships. And I still am friends with most of them. Most of them are now married with kids, so it's a little weird because I'm not. But I value those friendships so much with all of them. We used to do game nights all the time that we would plan. We go to Starbucks like almost every week, at least once a week, if not twice. So to the point that I was a little sick of it. I was still at school at that point, and I was an hour away and I would drive home every time for church. I would drive home like every Wednesday if I could. I would drive home every weekend to go to church and drive back super late Sunday night and then get up for morning classes, just because I just loved being there, and that's where I felt at home. I didn't feel that at school, so I didn't want to stay there when I didn't have to. So I threw myself into everything. I will say that now looking back, that kind of did damage a little bit of my family relationships, because they didn't understand why all of a sudden I just had to be at church all the time when I had never really cared about church in the past. And they made fun of me. It hurt my feelings. I cried a lot about it, because I wanted them to understand, but they didn't want to understand. They didn't want to be involved. They didn't want to go. To this day, I still haven't really been able to talk about going to church with really anybody but my dad, because he is religious, even though he is on the Catholic side and I'm more on the Baptist evangelical side of things. But at least he's willing to discuss things with me and have debates, which I really appreciate. And part of me like will always wish that I had that super close family that wants to pray for me and that can give me good spiritual advice. And I mean, I have that in church family, but I do wish I had that in my actual family. Going back to, I got super involved. I didn't go to family stuff as much because I wanted to be at church. I mostly wanted to be around this guy. I did a lot of things because of him, is what it is. But God also puts people in your life for a reason, including all of these friendships. Every friendship I have had has been there for a reason. I don't doubt that at all, even the bad ones. So a lot of times my family wanted to do stuff on Wednesday nights or Sundays. Well, that is when I had church. They refused to do it any other night because that's what worked best for them. And I just said, okay, well then I'm not coming. And I think looking back now, that would have been the more Christian thing to do, would have been to go to those things and be there with my family at least more of the time. I can't change that now, but now I try to do that more. Even if I have church events, I try to be more involved with family. And I really am, I think, more now. So things kept going on there. I got baptized January 2nd, and funny story with that one is, I guess during the morning service, the baptism behind the pulpit and everything was making a lot of noise, so they turned the heater off. Yeah, they forgot that I was getting baptized that night and that they should turn it back on. So when Pastor dunked me, I came up like gasping. I like think I made this huge noise because it was so cold, and he felt so bad. He kept joking about it. He's like, it's fine, we're cool. My mom did come to see that, and I have gotten both my mom and my dad to come hear me sing at church a few times, but other than that, that's all I've gotten them to come for. So I'm really the only one in my family that's like involved in church and everything. So, you know, I was super involved there. Did some mission trips, which were awesome. One to Nicaragua and to the Dominican Republic. So those just really strengthened my faith in God, just seeing God work in all these people's lives and everything, and everybody's circumstances, and it was just very humbling. And I'm so thankful for those experiences that I've had. I coached upward cheerleading, which is like in the church like sports. So that was really cool too. Just a lot of fun things. Like our group just did fun stuff all the time. We went to retreats at a Christian camp in North Carolina, which I loved doing. They were just so fun. And then things kind of changed over time. Everybody started pairing off, getting married, things like the group dynamics changed a lot, and that made it harder for me. This guy was still in the group. It took like 2-3 years before he ever decided he wanted to date me, and it was only because someone else was interested. But it was great. I thought we were going to get married. We talked about it, and then things fell apart, and I fell apart. I fell away from God for, not completely, but I wasn't as focused. I would skip church because I didn't want to see him. I tried finding other churches. I wasn't feeling it. I was in a bad place. I cried all the time. Everything struck memories for me, which is weird because I told you guys in other videos I told you I don't have good memories of things. Like I don't have a good memory in general. Like I tend to forget things really easily. Those memories have never left me still. It took me a long time to be okay after that. A lot of my good friends were there for me through all that, and I appreciate that. But this is kind of where I meant to say, everyone's in your life for a reason. God put him in my life, even though it caused some of the worst pain in my life. It also caused some of the greatest joy in my life, not just from being with him, but because I know God, because I know Christ is my Savior. That if I hadn't met him working at Kohl's, I don't know if I would have gone to church. I don't know if I would have ever built these friendships and these memories. So as much as it sucked, I know that it was there for a reason. It took me a while to agree that that was good and that was there for a reason, but I know that it was. Then I decided, that was like my last year of grad school when that all happened. I decided I'm going to move away. One, I had a hard time finding a job here in Ohio, so I was like, I'm going to move away. Moved to the middle of nowhere, North Carolina. I was homesick. It got me away, it did, and that helped. Being separated from things helped. I found a good church in North Carolina where I made some really good friends there as well. And then I was really homesick, so I moved back, which is how I ended up back in Dayton now. Well, I don't live in Dayton, but I drive to Dayton for work every day. And then again, I came home, and I'm going back to my old church, which is what felt like home and still does when I go back to it, but I just don't feel like I fit now. The whole group is like 19, 20, 21-year-olds, and I'm 29. I don't fit in that group. My ex is about the only one in that group who is my age. So it's not the best fit for me anymore. And I was having a hard time finding stuff, and I kept coming home every weekend. At one point, I think it was New Year's Eve, my mom said, hey, I think your New Year's resolution should be that you are going to stay up in Mason and make your own friends and stop coming home every weekend. And I was like, ouch. So I was like, all right, guess I'm going to start trying some more churches up here. So I just started trying some. I ended up at a Nazarene church, and their small group was like 3 people. But one of those 3 people has since become one of my closest new friends. She told me about this great group that meets on Tuesdays, which is a group called Axis. She actually then that Tuesday was like, I can't go, I'm not feeling well. And I was like, I'm going to go anyway. Can you just tell me what the address is? And I think she was shocked that I was just going to go on my own to this place I've never been, to all these people I've never met. So I showed up in the parking lot, found a girl walking in and went, hey, is this where the group is? And she was like, yeah, come with me. Instantly walked into this house where it's just packed with people my age, not like the 19, 20, 21-year-olds, but people actually like my age, like upper 20s, 30s, like single people my age, not everybody pairing off, which was great. And just like such a great sense of community and friendships. And for the first time in a long time, I wanted to be in church again. I wanted to be there, and not because of a guy, because I actually really felt the community and felt the group that I wanted to be a part of. That was January, and like this group also does tons of fun things all the time. It took a while for me to feel like I felt like I fit in with the group. I am kind of introverted in that I like my me time, and I had gotten so used to it for the past 3 years, not being home with my original group, because in North Carolina I really didn't have a lot of friends, so I still was mostly by myself. So I had spent so many years doing everything by myself that I was used to like being like, well, I want to go home tonight, I want to do this tonight, I don't want to go out. And I think that didn't help me there. And then it just took a while for me to build each of those friendships. I'm still working on a lot of them, but building those has helped me be more involved in the group. Whenever they do stuff, I actually try and make myself go to things now. Or my roommate, who I now live with, because it made sense, and she goes to church with me. We actually sing together at church and everything, and I think that's actually been an amazing thing for me. I thought I never wanted to have a roommate again, because it was kind of a pride thing that I want to live by myself and provide for myself. I have my doctorate, I should be able to do that. But this made a lot more sense, saving money wise, and then just living with Sarah has been great because she's an amazing Christian woman. Rooming with Sarah has really helped as well. It's made me go to stuff more because she goes, and I'm like, well, she's going, I need to go. And it's been really encouraging to live with another Christian who is there for me when I need it, who maybe more than I need her to be there sometimes, because I feel like she's probably like, oh my gosh, you need to talk again, don't you? I do not internalize my feelings at all. But it's been really good having that support system. And then recently I have reached out to an older woman at the church as well, to have kind of an older mentor, and I think that's really good for me too. I'm trying to focus on being content in what I have and what God has given me, and not asking, but why can't I have this, and being upset because I'm, not married or not happy with things going on in life and things, because it could be a lot worse. And while God is a God of love, he is also a God of justice, and not everything is rainbows and sunshines, that's how it is. And God doesn't just give you everything you want just because you pray about it. God gives you what he thinks you need in his timing. And that's something that I'm still working on all the time, because it's easy to say, it's not easy to accept. So I think that's about it right now. But hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, or if you just want to share your story or anything, just let me know, leave a comment.